Hey folks, Grown Black Folks Talk, not quite back out on the climb. I actually did this video outdoors, but it got too windy. It's about to rain here. So I came back indoors because I wanted to do this where I have a timer in front of me. May 5th is coming up, and I was going to do this video then talking about the levels to which the manosphere, not all parts of it, because it actually has to give some, I don't often give kudos to some members of the manosphere, but some who are more sensible than others, to have replaced their godfather with just Pearly things. Miss Pearly. I was going to do about an hour on that, but you know what? I realized, I talk to black women who are wiser than myself. And I realized, nope, access denied, not worth all that time and energy. Because let me break it down to you briefly. Do you know how much lack of respect you have to replace the image of your father with any woman? See, it is not necessary for me to trash the manosphere and their lack of respect for even black men. I mean, it's bad enough that Anton Daniel sat up there and 6 other men sat there and let him suggest a crime the size of the Holocaust. 4 times, actually, that size, replacing black women with another group after doing away with us, just like Atigun Forest. But then you're going to pile on. You've chosen Pearly is baby girl. And you have let that man, you have let that woman walk into your godfather's place. Because I know that these men do not read history, they do not understand that they have become willing participants in a very old drama. I'm going to put the book link on Amazon, not an affiliate link. We don't do any of that till we're monetized here. But they were her property, which will really tell you how women like Carolyn Bryant thought they could just get off, lying on a young black boy named Emmett Till and getting him killed. How many times that's happened in the last 400 years. So you're going to find out things about how cruel white women were to their slaves. How white women had, once they passed a certain age, had slaves that they could force into doing things for them sexually. They had their own collection of bucks and studs and mandingos. And how these fetishes still go on. And how white men would permit it sometimes because they couldn't turn their wives on. So they would go ahead and allow a slave to do that with their wife to watch. But for you to be just a sexual plaything of white people means you have no self-respect and no regard for your self-image. Well, on an online sense, this is basically what's going on. These black men are so happy to have Miss Pearly things tell them that slavery is really no big deal. They're so happy to have her basically tell them, if you process that, you do know that black men are behind in every metric compared to white men, Asian men, Latino men, even Native American men. Every metric. But if slavery isn't a big deal and nothing really happened there, not only does that let Miss Pearly's section of society off the hook, but that also means black men are just inferior to be inferior. But she gonna be baby girl. So the same men sit by and let one of their number propose the removal of black women and the replacement by another group of women, and has chosen a woman who basically has confirmed what her white brothers and fathers have been saying all this time. Do you understand the level of disrespect you have to have for yourself as a man and for the history of black men in the Americas? The only man strong enough to make a country, to put down the fundamental capital, to make a country out of what white men arrived to make a country to European liking, were black men. That's it. Native American wasn't going to do it. Period. White men couldn't do it. The average age of the average time an indentured servant who was from Europe lasted doing the work to grow sugar and cotton and tobacco was 4 years. Not long enough to even have a return on investment. Most of them didn't even survive their 7-year term. So you go out of one. See, I know the black men in the manosphere, some of them listen to thoughtful men. They could have put Attorney Dennis Sperling up on top, from whom I learned that, and then checked and said, for a long time, black men did this work basically alone. Black women were not mass imported till closer to 1800. So we do know that from about 1619 down to about 1790, black men did this work alone. Most of the time. There were black women slaves before that, but not to the degree that happened after 1800. So you represent the men who literally built a country out of whole cloth. because Europeans couldn't do it. But you're going to let a European woman tell you that's no big deal? So you just hear inferior and broke because you inferior and broke compared to other men? But you're going to call her baby girl. And those other 6 men let it happen. Do you know how ignorant and how lacking in self-respect that you have to be as a black man to allow that? Because again, the manosphere could have put Dennis Sperling up there. They would have learned something from him. I did. I learned a lot from him. He gets on live and says some things that men should do, and I just listen, make notes, and pass it on to the sisterhood when I see it checks out. They could have learned from Dr. T.S.A. Johnson. I'd even be willing to go with the Green Gorilla, the PhD with the G with a PhD. I would even be willing to go for him. Dr. Tommy Curry, the Man Knot. They have men who could thoughtfully lead this movement that they could have put up there to maintain the image of a black man as a father. But they're going to put Carolyn Bryant in effigy up there to tell them that they're inferior just to be inferior. Because if slavery isn't a big deal, if slavery isn't really that important, then it's just black men are just behind because that's their proper place. And see, let me tell you something else. When you see black men just so happy to be patted on the head by a white woman, they are conceding that she is superior. And by conceding that she is superior, they are conceding that her father and her brother are. Again, see, if for those of you that would read a little bit, you would know what Miss Pearly is doing. But see, now here's the payoff. We're going to keep this video under 10 minutes because it's not even worth 10 minutes of our time. Because ladies, if a man has this little lack of self-respect, his rejection is your protection for real. Because if he has this little protection and respect for his own image, he ain't going to be able to do nothing for you. That's just how that is. If you have so little going for yourself that you could not find a masculine replacement. You know, all these men are all about masculinity, but you took a white woman. That's not even a reference about the inferiority of me. Not at all. We know who the mother of humanity was. We know what color she had to be and where she was from. We know who did the groundwork, beginning with Ida B. Wells, to get civil rights in this country. We have her name, and we know who she was. We know who the most successful abolitionist of black hue was. She was Harriet Tubman. We don't have to ask about these things. We know. Well, I should say the most successful in terms of going across the lines and bringing people back. We know. We don't have to ask about that. And again, this is not to take away from the black men who are accomplishing and who have accomplished. But these men in the manosphere don't respect that. They don't want to come up to that standard. They want to run around behind Miss Pearly. They want to go back to Miss Scarlett in pearls, and they should be allowed to do that. See, since they want another kind of woman to come in, let Miss Pearly save them in 2030. See, if you're not developing your natural intelligence, if you don't respect your own history, if you don't respect the image of your own father, what you going to do in the information age turning into the artificial intelligence age? You don't see these men talking about ChatGPT, Google Bard, even Bitcoin and how it's going to change the world. You figure Anton Daniels on finance. He should be talking about how y'all invest in the bear market and get positioned. He ain't doing none of that. He's up here calling this woman who basically confirmed the inferiority of black men baby girl. And all those men sat up there and let him talk about, we're just going to get rid of black women and start over. Oh, okay. All right. Well, let Miss Pearly save you in 2030. When black women turn around and say, get someone else to do it. Ladies, let me tell you something. On May 5th, let those men who actually have enough respect for themselves honor their Godfather. Don't even waste your time and attention. Because, you know, these men flirt with Pearly, but they're really just trying to get a rise out of us. No. Access denied. Go celebrate the real men of Mexico on Cinco de Mayo, who actually delivered their women and children from colonial domination. Go do that. I'm going to spend some time working with and mourning a real man, a colleague, passed away. That black man did everything that he had a responsibility to do, and he died in his sleep. Still relatively young, not much older than me. I'm going to honor the men that are still here this week. I'm not going to give any of my time and attention anymore to men who degrade women and think women are the problem. And they just keep on degrading themselves and disrespecting their image back to 1619. They can't even respect Kevin Samuels and not give a white woman his spot. Ain't got time. And I would suggest you not have time either. But for the black men who are out there doing the right thing, keep doing that. Keep covering the image of your ancestors and yourself with respect and honor. Bye. Under 10 minutes.